Decoding Manipur poll ballot. Yes, it's a big challenge. Strife-torn Manipur will go to polls in two phases on April 19 and April 26. Nomination for the inner and the outer Lok Sabha seats have been filed. No member of the Kuki-Zomi community has filed nomination for the ST reserved outer Manipur seat. The apex body of the Kuki tribe has said that the Kuki rights to vote and contest has been compromised because of the violence. This also follows the call of ITLF and some youth and women Kuki groups who asked Kukis not to contest for elections. Now, this is the first. 3 Naga candidates are contesting for the outer Manipur seat, and the Kuki apex body has said that they don't want any animosity with the Naga brothers. That's the inner politics. Meanwhile, the Election Commission has also made foolproof provisions for the displaced people by setting up polling stations near relief camps. Lok Sabha polls will be demanding a fair in Manipur, given the displacement, discord and destruction that Manipur has witnessed in last 10 months. Now, what are the biggest poll challenges that Manipur is likely to face in Lok Sabha elections? I would say it's the movement of people. Secondly, lack of participation by a community. And third, the most important, it's not the legitimacy of the ballot, the legitimacy of the process, whereby people are happy participating in the poll. I am joined by Dr. Thangolal Haukep, Assistant Professor, Center for Study of Law and Governance in JNU. And I am also being joined by Shada Prasad, former DJP, Assam. Thank you so much, sir. Let me just go to Professor Haukep first. Professor Haukep, was this boycott, I know you are not the spokesperson, sir, but I think this boycott was avoidable.
Kartikeya, first let me go back to how politics are being played out in the Northeast in the last 70 years of Indian independence. In India, we have the first elections, the general elections in 1951-52. In their elections, the Nagas under the leadership of Naga National Council or the NNC, they boycotted the first general elections, saying that they disagree with whatever have been decided upon them. And they have their own demands. Eventually, within 1 decade, there was a decision that there has to be a state of Nagaland, right? In 1963, it was inaugurated, or the statehood was granted to the Naga Hills district. Likewise, I think if the Kuki people decided to boycott this general election, it sends a signal that we are, we are waiting for, the central government to give us their voice in terms of electoral constituency, as well as in terms of having their own state. So the separate state demand is now put forward before the central government. So it has a significance in the history of elections in India. After the first boycott by the Nagas, it will be the Kukis if they decided to boycott these elections, because there is no Kuki candidate. By this time, there would be at least 2-3 Kuki
Professor, it's a small discussion. I need to go across now. Yes, okay. It's a small discussion. I need to go across to the former DGP. Mr. Prasad, sir, thank you so much. What are the biggest challenge for the forces to conduct free and fair election in a state like Manipur? In your opinion, what that challenge is, sir?
You see, the challenge in Manipur is manifold. In fact, the constitution of that population is such that you have population of a different pattern in the city of IMPHAL and surrounding places, whereas in the inner areas of jungles, that slopes of the hill and further away, the population is of different pattern. So the forces have to spread out, but at the same time ensure that no untoward incident happens. And I can tell you that whatever amount of force you give, it gets lost into the jungle. Lost in the jungle means because forces cannot see each other. Suppose you put one platoon towards one side of the hill, they can't see on the other side of the hill. So they are not in contact directly visually, so only wireless contact remains. So it's quite challenging thing, but then it has to be done. And compared to a plain area, more forces are required in the hill areas. And I hope they are taking care of that.
Okay, Mr. Prasad, there is also another question you can answer with that. What about the displaced people? How is it, Assam has gone through a lot of tumultuous time, but how do you organize polling for displaced people, sir?
It's very simple. You see, we presume that people are displaced, but their identity is not displaced. I mean, they continue to carry their own identity papers so that whatever they are there, I mean, at that place, the polling booth has to be established for them. And they have to be given a freedom to vote in the nearby place, provided they have the identity paper. So if that is there, then perhaps things will be better. And a dialogue must be open with the people. One most important thing in the hill areas where I function is that you have to have dialogue with the people. You can't be separate and people separate. So dialogue must be opened. And if there are some feelings, so the feelings must be assuaged and they must be taken care of. And most of the things, they are possible. I worked in Assam, I worked in Meghalaya, and having dialogue with the people was the most important thing, what really went for success. So besides the law and order maintenance and spreading of force, ensuring safety, security, dialogue with the people is most important. Yes.
Dialogue with the people is most important. Brijesh, but dialogue is not taking place there. And I think for the first time, this sort of a boycott is happening in the state of Manipur. Many boycotts have happened in Northeast, but maybe this is the first in Manipur where a section of the society is not participating. I think this makes elections less representative.
Well, it does. It definitely does. And if you see a sizable community boycott a particular election, then it does raises questions of fair representation, and and it also a very sad reflection on the tragic times Manipur is going through. The fact is, I completely agree with the DGP that former DGP that that dialogue should take place. But it's very unfortunate that this, despite several such calls or despite attempts and all, no proper political process has initiated, which might result in rehabilitations of both sides and less acrimony between the both sides. I think every passing day there may be lull in the in violence, but the distrust between the communities are deepening by the day, and it's a very sorry and tragic state of affairs as far as Manipur is concerned.
Dr. Hauke, if elections are less representative and the cookies don't participate, where will it end? Because there will be assembly elections one day. The voting will have to take place. Certain processes will be in place, sir.
Yeah, definitely. The administration has arranged for special polling booths where displaced people could vote. But the problem is about the community deciding what to vote. So if it goes how the women group and other civil society organizations are trying to convince people, then I think the cookies will not vote even a single vote for the Outer Manipur constituency. However, one thing, it will send a clear message to the Indian government that, after 50 years, after the Nagas disagree with how they have been treated in the Naga Hills, I think it's going to be the Kukis who will disagree the way the central governments are handling their wishes and aspirations. And this would be, written down in the political history of Manipur and in the Northeast that, it has happened for the second time, which seeks to draw attention to the central government that their wishes and aspirations should be taken into account. I have written in the past 5 years that how the people vote in Manipur also. It's interesting. There is a lot of ethnic voting, cross-ethnic voting happening in the hills of Manipur. And if you can see that there is a neck and neck contest between the two communities, the Nagas and Kukis, for representation in the central government or the parliament. So there is a kind of ethnic animosity always happening during this time of parliamentary elections. And if there is a special kind of arrangement that could be made so that the northern Manipur, there could be another parliamentary constituency for the Nagas, and for the southern Manipur, we could have a stable kind of constituency where the Kuki-Zomi people could vote for their representative. That kind of special arrangement could have been made so as to ease the kind of ethnic tensions that have been prevailing in the state of Manipur. So these are my kind of research findings in the last 5 years, looking into the voting pattern or the voting behavior of electorates.
Okay. Mr. Prasad, there's another question. Manipur is one state where weapons are out. You know, even the peak of insurgency in Assam or even in Kashmir, so much of weapon was never looted. Manipur is an exception in entire northeast. Even in Kashmir theatre, you never had more than 500 or to 300 AK-47s. Here, thousands of weapons have been looted. How big is that a challenge for the force?
It's a great challenge, but then as far as the arms in Manipur is there, it's a old story that arms have always been there, but they were not used for the what you call against the people as such, and only in selected cases it was used against the what you call government forces. Mostly these were used for fighting among themselves. Manipur has a history of insurgents who used to fight among themselves. And each group will get split into more groups, and they will further split, and each group will be going against the other group. That was the general tendency. But this time, so many weapons out. Obviously, these weapons are there, and so one has to be very careful about them. And there is no single, I would say, antidote to having arms ammunition there. So the government has to look into for them. Of course, there can be always a general call given by the government for depositing arms and ammunition. And those who surrender with the arms, maybe some reward or some scheme can be there. But these are helpful in the long run. Presently, as of now, we are faced with election. So that's the immediate problem. On the long term, some amnesty scheme or some other incentive scheme has to be chalked out so that the more and more number of arms ammunition come back to the system. Okay.
Thank you, all of you. I think that was a very good discussion on the challenge which stares at Manipur, because Manipur is going to undergo poll like any other state, any other constituency in run-up to the Lok Sabha elections. And with the weapons out, with the community boycotting it, it's a challenge which the political class will need to rise up to and answer.